Hi guys. It's my turn this week. This is Nick from Climb Chiropractic. Our goal with this video series was to start to answer questions, and they're mostly general questions we get from any online clients or fitness clients or midday movement project clients that we get about like general health and like why we're doing things the way we're doing things and what is the important thing and what's the why behind all of these different things, right? One of the most common questions that we get are nutrition-based questions. So I've been dubbed the guy to answer the nutrition questions for this video series. Nutrition to me is something that I find extremely interesting, and I think probably for myself, at least the most undervalued thing that I talk about with clients, honestly, to my own detriment. It's just not something that we talk about a ton, and I think we could all do a better job of doing that. So I think that starting today, having this conversation and being comfortable with this conversation is my goal. So my goal is to be able to deliver this to you guys more frequently, more concise. And if you guys have more questions surrounding this or more questions you want me to answer in a video like this, please just shoot me an email or a text or anything like that, and we'll get there. Um, this morning I had really good conversations with two different clients about what they're doing nutrition wise right now. They both actually just got done with something called intermittent fasting, which is where you restrict calories for a certain period of time. One person did incredible with it to their credit. They did a great job. They lost a ton of body fat, they lost a ton of weight, and they actually maintained skeletal muscle mass across the board. The other person hated every second of it, quite frankly, really didn't like it. And why I lead with that and this example that we're given today is because people ask me about those things all the time. They ask me about fasting. They ask me about ketogenic diets. They ask me about paleo diets. They ask me about all these different kinds of diets. And I know that Ashley and Holly and Sarah and everybody get asked the same questions. And I really try to stay away from any of these questions and any of those like specific answers and saying, okay, this is the diet that's going to work for you. Because you find that that's really not out there and really not true. And over 90-ish% of diets fail long term. So like putting people on a specific diet doesn't work. And people may get frustrated when they ask us that question. They may ask, what diet should I try? Should I try ketogenic? Should I try paleo? And I always push that question off because it's not the most important thing when it comes to nutrition. The most important thing when it comes to nutrition is understanding food, in my opinion, and understanding how food makes you feel and how food makes you function and what makes you gravitate towards certain foods. And there are certain points of nutrition that are really important and essential, but usually they don't boil down to one certain type of diet for one person. So today, to start the nutrition conversation, going over the basic science of nutrition, what some of these words actually mean, what you need to know, what you might not need to know, and how to apply this going forward. So the first thing with nutrition is the word calorie, right? I just wrote calorie up there, and calorie is 1 unit of energy. There's all these different things and ideas behind what a calorie is, but what a calorie scientifically is literally something you ingest that you can then burn later to provide fuel for your body, right? Calories are important. Obviously, they're the basic unit of expending energy. They're the basic unit of nutrition and all those things. And foods can be calorically dense or not calorically dense. They can be calorically bioavailable, not calorically bioavailable. All calories are not created equal, so that's not where we're going with this conversation, but that's what a calorie is, right? So if you are one of the people who's been training with me for a long time, you know that I've made you ride the assault bike in the past, right? The assault bike is a good example of this. I have one sitting right here. A lot of times I'll say ride for 15 calories or whatever. That doesn't mean you're burning 15 calories. That means what you're doing on the bike is actually creating 15 calories of energy because calories are a unit of energy. So there you go. The basic breakdown of the basic science of nutrition for today is just macronutrient versus micronutrient, right? And macronutrients are the ones people usually have heard of before. Proteins, fats, carbohydrates. Proteins, fats, carbohydrates are the breakdown of every single food that you're going to eat for the most part. All the micronutrients and underlying things fall into those categories along the way. With protein, you have all sorts of essential amino acids, non-essential amino acids. With fats, you have all sorts of different kinds of omega-3, omega-6, like different kind of like fatty acids and that kind of things exist within fats. And carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, all of those things. That is these categories breaking down. We'll talk about those things in the future, but that is the basic breakdown of what each food is comprised of. If you look here, it says protein is 4 calories per gram. That means every gram of protein you get, your body gets 4 calories of energy. For fat, you get 9 calories per gram of fat. So any Gram of fat you ingest, you create 9 calories, and then carbohydrate is 4 calories per gram as well. So it's the same as protein. Most people, when it comes to developing a nutrition plan or developing a nutritional idea, you need to have some kind of idea of what you're doing macronutrient wise. They're different for everybody. So, I am an advocate, as most of you know who I've spoke to about this before, of higher protein diets. Protein is the building block of just about everything that we do, especially in the health and fitness world. You need protein to build skeletal muscle mass. You need protein to maintain skeletal muscle mass. You need skeletal muscle mass to maintain bone density. Protein is essential for all the bodily systems and all the bodily things that you need to do. You can create protein, or protein can create energy through something called gluconeogenesis, which is something where the liver then produces energy later on. I'm an advocate of a higher protein diet. People always say, how much protein? It's different for everybody. Talk to me individually, ask me individually, let me know how many grams you're doing right now. And that's usually a starting point of, okay, where do you need to go from here? There's a squirrel. I thought he was going to come in the garage for a second there. So that is usually where I go. High fat diets are a big thing right now as far as like I'll say fad diets go, right? The ketogenic diet is a high fat diet. So ketones are produced by high fats. Ketones are a sense of fuel in the body. A ketogenic diet is not for everybody. I do not practice a ketogenic diet myself, not because I don't think it's good, but because I've tried it before and it made me feel like crap. So like I said in the beginning of the video, knowing how you respond to things is more important than what you're actually doing. So high fat diets are a big buzz thing right now. So when people say, okay, I'm going to try a ketogenic diet, that's what they're talking about. They're going to talk about really, really high fat, lower carbohydrates, and it's hard to have high fat without high protein. So protein will go up as well too. Carbohydrates then have been something that people have talked about for many, many years. Carbohydrates are demonized when it comes to health and nutrition. When you think carbohydrates, people usually think of like a more processed carbohydrate. I'm not an advocate of using those a lot, like using processed breads, processed whatever else, cereals, grains, like that kind of stuff. You usually try to stay away from a little bit in my own personal diet plan and for trying to make diet plans for you guys. But carbohydrates are completely essential. So carbohydrate sources are fruits and vegetables and, seasonal things like squashes, potatoes, rices, those kind of things, very high in carbohydrate. Finding a balance between these three macronutrients for your own specific diet is the starting point usually for anybody before you go to a named diet. So maybe you do 60% carbohydrate, 20% fat, with that leave 20% protein, right? That's probably not the way that I would devise it for you. Maybe you would do 40% protein, 30% fat, 30% carbohydrate. You might be getting there depending on what your goals may be. So playing with these numbers and actually knowing what you're getting in is the first starting point. So I don't personally love weighing food or anything myself, but starting to understand like the size of something, I started saying, okay, like this chicken breast is 6 grams, or this is an actual tablespoon of protein or of peanut butter versus like, when I say tablespoon of peanut butter, it's probably like 6 tablespoons of peanut butter. So understanding how much you're consuming now and how that makes you feel now is a starting point. Lastly, I wrote micronutrients down here. Okay, micronutrients are everything else outside of macronutrients, but they're inside macronutrients. So your essential vitamins, fat soluble vitamins, water soluble vitamins, fiber content, all of that good stuff lives within inside micronutrients. That will be a topic for a later discussion when it comes to nutrition, but you can't really talk about calories without micronutrients too, because they are important. Earlier, I said calories are not created equal. If you talk about a slice of bread, right? A slice of bread may have 100 calories in this hand and 100 calories in this hand, but you can have two very different slices of bread. Maybe this one is highly processed white bread, and this one is really, really good whole grain wheat bread, right? The micronutrient density will be different in all of those right there. So you get 100 calories regardless, but they're broken down to what you're actually taking in and what you're absorbing. You're going to do better off with the more bioavailable micronutrient content stuff. But like I said, we'll get into that in the future. As always, if you have questions about nutrition, if you want to talk nutrition more, please reach out to myself, reach out to Ashley, Sarah, Holly, anybody who you may be able to talk to who can give you a better point of view or more concise picture on where we'll start. We're there for you guys as always. So please, if you have questions, let us know. Thank you for tuning into these videos and hope you're learning something along the way. As always, if you have other questions, please let us know.